Good morning, dear students. A warm welcome to all of you for today's digital session for the subject Science and Technology Section A. Today, we are going to complete the activities for chapter number 1, that is Laws of Motion. In our previous session, we have completed with the explanation of the chapter and we have completed the entire textual exercise, including all the numerical examples. I hope all of you have completed your notebooks and have started preparing for your third online assessment. So, without wasting our time, we will move on to the activities for chapter number 1, that is Laws of Motion. Now, as you know, the board has reduced the syllabus. Mostly all the activities from all chapters are deleted due to the COVID pandemic. But still, in every chapter, 2 to 3 activities are left. So, for chapter number 1 also, we have 3 activities. That 3 we are going to complete today. And then we will proceed to chapter number 11, that is reflection of light. That is our last chapter for the first semester, or we can call it as third online assessment. So let's start with the activities. For your activities, I expect all of you to sit with the textbook, a pen and a book in your hand. First activity is on page number 1 of your textbook. Think about it. First activity is on page number 1 of your textbook. Think about it. Rest all activities from that page are cancelled by the board. Can you tell, let's try this, and towards the end you have think about it, that is cancelled. So, page number 1, you are traveling in a bus. Is the person sitting next to you in motion? You are traveling in a bus. Is the person sitting next to you in motion? Now see here. If you are traveling in any bus or vehicle, the person next to you, for you that person will be at rest. He will not appear moving. But for a person who is standing on the road and watching the bus which is in motion, for that person, the person who is sitting inside the bus will appear to be moving. Why? Because in the beginning we have seen that motion is a relative concept. We take one more example. You are traveling by a train. When you are traveling by a train which is in motion, you see your trees or the roadside buildings, they appear to move along with it, although they are at rest. So for you, the roadside buildings and trees, they appear to be moving, but the same buildings, trees, they appear at rest for the person standing on the road. So motion concept depends from person to person. It depends from the observer who is observing the things. So what will be the answer here? Yes, the person is in motion for an observer who is standing on the road. But the same person sitting in the bus is at rest if I am observing him. Why I? Because they have asked you, next to you. Is the person sitting next to you? So for me, that person is at rest because that person is next to me and the bus is in motion. Next, question number 2. What do you take into consideration to decide if an object is moving or not? Now from the above question, you come to know that it is the observer who decides if an object is moving or not. So what you will take into consideration? Observer is the answer. Observer decides if an object is moving or not. I hope all of you have jotted down the points. So we have completed the first activity from page number 1, that is think about it. Let's move to the next activity which is on page number 10, research. Page number 10, research. Now This activity is based upon the concept of uniform circular motion. All of you have studied what is uniform circular motion. What is uniform circular motion? When an object moves with constant speed along a circular path, then we call that motion as uniform circular motion. And in your textbook, if you see above the research part, many examples they have given in the paragraph. The motion of a stone in a sling, the motion at any point on a bicycle wheel. So apart from that examples, they have asked us find out more examples of circular motion in day-to-day life. More examples means the examples which are not given in the textbook. So first example you can take as motion of wheels of a bicycle. You know bicycle wheels, they are round in shape. So their motion is circular motion. Or you have fan in your house. When the fan works, you can see the blades of a moving fan. They are in circular motion. So that example you can take. Or you can take the motion of electrons around the nucleus. You can take about the motion of planets in the solar system. So any example which is related to circular motion, that example you can mention over here. At least you have to give 3 examples. So I have taken the first example as motion of wheels of a bicycle, motion of blades of a moving fan, motion of electrons around the nucleus. In the last year, you have studied under the chapter measurement of matter, atomic size, atomic mass. There you have seen the motion of electrons around the nucleus. Next, we move to the last activity of this chapter, that is on page number 12. At the center of the page, you will see near Newton's first law of motion. The activity is fill a glass with sand. Already this activity we have discussed during our practicals. When I had sent you the online practicals, that time in the first practical of laws of motion, we have discussed this activity. Fill a glass with sand, keep a piece of cardboard on it, keep a 5 rupee coin on the cardboard, strike the cardboard hard using your fingers, observe what happens. This you can try at home also. Take a glass made up of glass material, fill it with sand, keep a piece of cardboard on it, keep any coin on the cardboard and strike the cardboard very hard. You will see that the coin will fall inside the glass and the cardboard will fall off. So that is the answer. Try this. You have to try and see whether you are getting the same result. So the coin falls inside the glass and the cardboard falls off. I hope all of you have taken down the answers. Now we move on to the next chapter, that is chapter number 11, last chapter of our science syllabus for third online assessment. The name of the chapter is Reflection of Light, a chapter from physics. Now, when you hear about the word light, you know light is an inseparable part of human life. It is an agent which gives us the information about what is happening in our surroundings. You know, you enjoy various wonders of nature like the sunrise, sunset, rainbow only because of light. You have experienced in the darkness in your own house also. You fumble. You are not able to find, suppose you are unaware that now power supply will be cut off and you are sitting in one place and without your notice the power supply gets cut off. You find it very difficult, especially during the night time, to move from your place, even though the house is a known thing to you. Means see how a major role the light plays in your life. And we are really blessed. We should be thankful to God that God has given us 2 beautiful eyes due to which we can see the beauty and experience the beauty around us. So today we are going to start with the chapter from physics, that is reflection of light. What do you mean by the word reflection? The process through which light rays fall on the surface on an object, falling on the surface on an object, are sent back is called reflection of light. Many of you have done this. Wearing watches in the class, you see the beautiful reflection in the glass. So, here you can see the process in which light rays falling on a surface are sent back is called reflection of light. Now, here we are going to study in this chapter about mirror and the two types of mirrors. One is plane mirror and the other is spherical mirror. I don't have to explain to you what is meant by a mirror. The moment you get up in the morning, you have your breakfast, you dress up. While dressing up, where you stand? You stand in front of the mirror, especially girls. Majority of the time is spent in front of the mirrors, taking care of your hair, taking care of your face, looking at the beautiful faces. So, in our day-to-day life, I do not have to explain what is meant by a mirror, but when it comes to science, in scientific language, a surface which reflects light and creates clear images is called a mirror. So, in short, you can call a mirror is a reflecting surface. Why reflecting? Because its surface reflects the light and creates the clear image. Hence, when you stand in front of a mirror, you can see your clear image. So, here you can see an photo of a mirror. Now, we begin with the first type of mirror, that is plane mirror. The mirror which you use in your house, the mirrors which are used in the dressing tables. So, that mirror is an example of plane mirror. This plane mirror is made by coating the back surface. Now, dressing table mirror you will not be able to remove out and see, but this type of mirrors which you get in the shop or in the barber's shop, if you see the back surface of that mirror, the mirror is made by coating the back surface of a flat and smooth glass piece. The front side which you see is a glass piece. The back surface, it is being coated with a thin reflecting film of aluminium or silver. So how is a mirror made? It is made by coating which mirror? Plane mirror. By coating the back surface of a flat and smooth glass piece. You know the front size is nothing but a smooth glass piece. By coating the back surface with a thin layer of aluminium or silver. And to protect this reflecting film and to make that side opaque, another coat of a substance like lead oxide is given over it. And I don't have to mention where the plane mirrors are used in various activities in our day-to-day life. Just now, as I have told you, while coming in the school or while going out to see how you are dressed up, or in the barber shop, you make use of plane mirrors. Now, we are going to study the different types of images which are formed by a plane mirror. Now you know light rays travel in all directions from such a source. Several of these rays fall on the mirror, get refracted and reach our eyes. Which source? You know, we see a clear image of ourselves when we stand in front of a mirror which is there in our house. So to understand how an image is formed in a mirror, now what we are going to do, we will first consider an image formed by a point source. So several of these rays, they fall on the mirror, and you know when the light rays fall on the mirror, they will get reflected and they will reach our eyes. Due to reflection, what will happen? They appear to be coming from a point behind the mirror, and that point is image of the point source. You can see it will be explained in three parts now. First, figure A, rays falling on a mirror normal to its surface. First figure will explain about the light rays falling on a plane mirror normal to its surface. So figure A shows light rays falling perpendicularly on the mirror are reflected back. You can see here they are incident. Incident means going from the source of light towards the mirror. So figure A shows light rays falling perpendicularly on the mirror are reflected back in the perpendicular direction. You can see perpendicular by an angle of 90 degree. So this is the first situation. Next situation, figure B. It shows the image of a point source formed by a mirror. It shows the image of a point source formed by a mirror. Now, figure B shows a point source O in front of the plane mirror. This is your mirror M1, M2. See, you can see M1, M2. It is a plane mirror. Figure B shows a point source O in front of that plane mirror. Incident rays OR1 and OR2. OR1 and OR2. These are the incident rays. Get reflected according to the laws of reflection along which paths R1, S1 and R2, S2. When these reflected rays are extended behind the mirror, these are the reflected rays. When they are extended behind the mirror, they meet at a point O1. When seen from E, you can see here, that is the eye. The rays appear to be coming from this point, that is O1. Other rays starting from O also get reflected and appear to be coming from the same point, that is point O1, and thus point O1 is the image of point O. So whenever you stand in front of the mirror, whatever you see inside the mirror, that is nothing but your clear image. The reflected rays do not actually meet over here. We have extended. You can see the word, when this reflected rays are extended behind the mirror, this reflected rays do not actually meet. Hence, such an image is called as a virtual image. There are two types of images, real image and virtual image. When the light rays, reflected rays do not actually meet, but they appear to come from that particular source, such a type of image is called a virtual image. The perpendicular distance of the image from the mirror is equal to the perpendicular distance of the source from the mirror. Next, we are going to see image of an extended source formed by a mirror. Now, if you use an extended source instead of a point source, you all know what is extended source. So, instead of point source, if we are using an extended source, an image is formed of every point of the source, thereby forming an extended angle or extended image of the entire source, of the whole source. So, you can see here in figure C, an extended source PQ is kept in front of the mirror M1, M2. Extended source PQ is kept in front of the mirror M1, M2. The images of P and Q are formed at P1 and Q1 respectively. Similarly, images of all the points between P and Q are formed between these points P1 and PQ, resulting in this entire image P1, Q1 of the entire extended source. So what you can say, the image which is formed by a plane mirror is of the same size as the source. Hence, when you stand in front of the plane mirror, your image which is formed is having the same size as your own size. So that is the concept behind it. Now we are going to study a very important concept, that is lateral inversion. You know, when you stand in front of a plane mirror, your right hand appears to be in the left position and your left hand appears to be in the right position. Similarly, if you see the words which are typed, they appear in a lateral form. So the image of a word appears laterally inverted in the plane mirror. The image of every point on the word is formed behind the mirror at the same distance from the mirror as the point itself, and this is called lateral inversion. So you can see here the literal inversion of letters which is written on the boy's t-shirt. You can see how the hands can be seen. This word ambulance is lettered. It is written on a piece of paper. When seen inside the mirror, you will see the alphabets in this sequence. So this concept which is being experienced, which is being formed by the plane mirror, is called as lateral inversion. Now after this, on page number 117 in your textbook, you have use your brain power and try this. That part is excluded from the syllabus by the board. So we have to start with a small proof. You have to prove a statement, geometry. You know proofs are in geometry. So the statement is, in order to see the full image of a person standing in front of a mirror. In order to see the full image of a person standing in front of a mirror, the minimum height of the mirror must be half the height of the person. So if you take a very tiny mirror and you stand in front of that mirror, you will not be able to see your entire image. So the minimum height of the mirror must be at least half the height of the person. Now you can see in the given figure here, the point at the top of the head, the eyes, and a point at the feet of the person are indicated by H, E and F respectively. The point at the top of the head of which? Head of the person. The eyes and at the feet, they are denoted by H, E and F respectively. R and S are the midpoints of H, E and E, F respectively. You know what is a midpoint? Midpoint is the point which separates the entire line in two equal parts. That is known as midpoint. The point which separates the line into equal parts. So here R is the midpoint of H and E. So HR is equal to RE. And S is the midpoint of EF. So ES is equal to SF. Application of geometry. Next, the mirror PQ is at a height of NQ. You can see this mirror. PQ is at a height NQ from the ground and is perpendicular to it. PQ is the minimum height of the mirror in order to obtain the full image of the person. For this, RP and SQ. RP, you can see this, and SQ must be perpendicular to the mirror. So here minimum height of the mirror, that is PQ, is equal to RS. Minimum height of the mirror PQ is equal to RS because they are perpendicular. That is equal to RE plus ES. What is RS? RE plus ES. So that is equal to HE upon 2. Why HE upon 2? Because RE you know is half of HE. So HE upon 2 and this ES is what? EF upon 2. So HE plus EF is equal to HF. Now see here, that is application of geometry. Here you have to take this depending on what we have to find out, what we have to derive. So what is RE? You see RE means half of HE. So here we have taken HE upon 2 and this ES is half of EF. So EF divided by 2. So HE plus EF comes out to HF, collinear points. So HF upon 2. That is what HF means. HF upon 2 means what? HF is the height of the person. So half of the person's height. So here we prove that the minimum height of the mirror should at least be equal to half of the person's height if you want to get the clear image. See what is the statement. In order to see the full image of the person standing in front of the mirror, the minimum height of the mirror must be half of the height of the person, which is proved over here. So with this proof, we complete with the first topic and the first type of mirror from our syllabus, that is plane mirror. Now we move to the next type of mirror, and this mirror also plays a very important role in different places in our day-to-day life, that is spherical mirrors. Spherical mirrors are different from the mirrors which we have at home. They are curved. You can see each and every mirror, it is curved. You can see such type of mirror implanted in vehicles. The images formed by curved mirrors are different from those which are formed by plain mirrors which you use in your houses or which you use in the barber shop. Because of this, we do not see the familiar images in these mirrors. You might have experienced in the laughing chamber. You have seen the mirrors which are displayed in the laughing chambers in a fair. When you go in the fair, your face appears distorted in these mirrors. That is because the mirror is not a plain mirror. The mirrors are curved. The rear view mirrors in cars which enable drivers to see the vehicles coming from behind, they are curved mirrors. Now, so to see how a spherical mirror is created, you take a rubber ball and cut it into two parts. We can see that each of the two parts has two types of surfaces. Take a rubber ball and cut it into two parts. You will see that each of the two parts has two types of surfaces. So generally spherical mirrors are parts of a hollow glass sphere like the part B which is given in the figure. You can see here a part of hollow glass sphere. The inner or the outer surface of this part is coated with a shiny substance to produce a spherical mirror. Now, reflection of light here. Now, plain mirror, you know how reflection takes place. But here, in the case of spherical mirror, you know it is a part of hollow sphere. So, one part will be curved or one part it will have outer surface and inner surface. So, reflection of light takes place either from its outer or inner surface, and thus two types of spherical mirrors are there. One is concave, like a cave, curved from inside, concave mirror, and the other is convex mirror. So let us see what is concave and convex mirror. Concave mirror. If the inner surface of the spherical mirror is the reflecting surface, you can see here, inner surface is reflecting surface, then it is called a concave mirror, and hence you remember the word cave, how the cave is. So inner surface is reflecting, then it is called a concave mirror. And exactly opposite, what do you mean by a convex mirror? If the outer surface of the spherical mirror, you can see both are curved, but the difference is in the first case, the inner surface of the spherical mirror is reflecting, then it is called a concave mirror, and if the outer surface of the spherical mirror is reflecting, then it is called a convex mirror. So these are the two different types of spherical mirrors. In our next session, we are going to study various terms which are related to these spherical mirrors, different definitions we are going to study. Then, as I have told you, you are going to study the different types of rules which will be used for obtaining the images by spherical mirrors. That is the images which are formed by concave mirror and images which are formed by convex mirror, and towards the end we are going to study the uses of concave and convex mirror. So till then I expect all of you to keep on reading the concept which we are going to study in our next session. So at least you will be familiar with the terms which we are going to study. And for science and technology, a very important thing is reading of the textbook, because when you read, you come to know, you come across different words, different concepts, diagrams, how to answer different diagrams, what are the labelings. So reading is a very important part of science and technology, both the sections. So keep reading, keep completing your books, and also keep studying at the same time. Also keep yourselves inside the houses, and if not necessary, do not move out of the houses, and keep yourselves safe. Thank you, dear children.